Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions. You'll probably need to unmute so that Maria can be heard.
Ok. Namaste y bienvenidos, amados poderosos compañeros.
Yes, Thanksgiving in the United States.
Acción de gracias en Estados Unidos.
David, Jesus is going to help us have every day as thanksgiving and gratitude for all the love of the Father.
Y Jesús nos ayuda a estar en acción de gracias todo el tiempo por el amor del Padre.
Got this really nice strong spotlight shining down on me.
Esta luz que está brillando sobre mí.
Oh my gosh, so much love.
Mucho amor.
So holy relationship, holy relationship.
Entonces, relaciones santas, relaciones santas.
So the only holy relationship is with God and his kingdom. There's only one.
La única relación es con Dios y su reino. Es solo una.
God only made one relationship, and that is him and his son as one.
Y Dios solo hizo una relación, es la de él y su hijo, su unigénito.
And then, of course, we have the tiny mad idea coming up, and as though there are many, as though the Son of God has no father.
Y entonces viene esta idea de que somos muchos y de que el Hijo de Dios no tiene padre.
That the Son of God can be without source.
Que el Hijo de Dios no tiene fuente, puede estar sin fuente.
And we know from A Course in Miracles that Jesus said he will take everything used by the ego and turn it around.
Y sabemos por el curso de milagros que Jesús dice que podemos usar todo esto para dar la vuelta.
Because the ego made others, lots of others, to try and prove that God is dead.
Porque el ego ha hecho una cantidad de otros para demostrar que Dios está muerto.
And to use unholy relationships in terms of these horizontal relationships between seeming beings, different beings have relationships that go this way.
Y entonces tener estas relaciones santas donde supuestamente seres tienen relaciones de esta manera.
That their relationships become a substitute for God the Father.
Pero las relaciones se vuelven un sustituto de todo el amor del Padre.
A relationship that denies that the Father is the only relationship we can have.
Las relaciones niegan que la única relación que podemos tener es con Dios.
See, in the world, there's an idea that a body can relate to another body.
Entonces en el mundo hay esta idea de que un cuerpo se puede relacionar con otro cuerpo.
That a relationship involves two.
Entonces que hay una relación entre dos.
This is worth having this one detonate on the inside.
Eso hay que dejarlo detonar internamente.
To see that a relationship, God's relationship is the one celebrating itself in totality, continual celebration of all the love there is.
Porque la relación es con Dios donde se celebra todo lo que es.
And see, that's happiness. Happiness, the relationship, it's not two.
La relación, la felicidad, porque la relación santa no es la relación no es de dos.
I can see there is always an idea about what a relationship was. I'm going to relate to someone.
Y siempre me preguntaba qué son las relaciones. Me voy a relacionar con un otro.
But you know, that's why he gives us definitions. It's a different definition than the idea we have.
Y por eso él nos da estas definiciones de las diferentes definiciones que nosotros hemos tenido.
You know, God's relationship with his son is only happiness because God only makes happiness. That's it.
Y la relación de Dios con su hijo es solo felicidad, porque Dios solo hace felicidad.
So then every idea of relating to someone is an idea.
Cualquier relación de un otro es simplemente una idea.
So what's the way back from this tiny mad idea that there are others out there?
Y entonces volvamos a esta pequeña alocada idea que dice que hay unos otros allá afuera.
Well, then Jesus said, okay, I'm going to take all the relationships you think you're having with others.
Y entonces Jesús dice, vamos a tomar todas estas relaciones que tú crees que tienes con unos otros.
And then I'm going to show you how to use what you think is an other to show you that there's only one.
Y entonces mostrarte de esta manera que esos otros, mostrarte que en verdad eres uno con ellos.
So unholy relationships are those relationships that the ego is using to try to prove that God is dead. There is an other out there.
Entonces, las relaciones no santas son todas las que muestran que Dios está muerto y que hay un otro allá afuera.
And Jesus is saying, no, I got a different plan for you.
Y Jesús dice, tengo un plan diferente para ti.
I'm going to show you where you're using your brother, an other, to try and prove that God has left you bereft.
Entonces, voy a mostrarte cómo estás utilizando ese otro para demostrar que Dios te ha dejado despojado.
That God has left you without love.
Que Dios te ha dejado sin amor.
And that you actually have to seek love over time in an other.
Y que tienes que buscar por amor en un otro en el tiempo.
When there's with only one, there is just love.
Cuando realmente hay uno solo y que es solo amor.
There isn't an other.
No hay un otro.
So just pause 1 second. Hold on.
Vamos a pausar por un segundo.
Were you trying to pin her video?
She wanted to do that. She said she would do it as co-host.
Okay, we're back. A little crash.
Un pequeño accidente.
So now he's saying, look, you have to rely on me to tell you which brothers are going to be most helpful for healing your mind.
Y entonces ahora dice él, tienes que confiar en mí, y
Hello?
porque yo te voy a decir,
Hello? Oh.
Yeah.
So you have to ask me which brothers are going to be most helpful for healing your mind.
Entonces vas a tener que preguntarme a mí cuáles son los compañeros que son más útiles para la sanación de tu mente.
So instead of us choosing the ones out there that we're going to use to prove that God doesn't love us or that we're unloved in that play of consciousness.
En lugar de usar estos seres que están allá afuera para el juego de la conciencia, decir que no tienes amor y todo esto.
Seeking romantic relationships, all kinds of relationships with others in seeking love through form.
Buscando relaciones románticas y buscando supuestamente el amor en la forma.
We, as Course in Miracles students, we trust Jesus. We give over all our relationships, all the forms that we interact with.
Entonces, nosotros los estudiantes del curso le damos a Jesús todas las formas de interacción que tenemos.
Okay, we allow him to choose, okay, which are the mighty companions are the ones that are going to be most helpful for healing the mind.
Entonces le decimos, Jesús, ¿cuáles son los compañeros más útiles para la sanación de la mente?
Which brothers are we going to interact with that will show us where we have ideas about relationships that need to be healed?
Y entonces le dejamos a él que elija las relaciones que deben ser sanadas.
Which brothers can show us the desire, the death wish?
¿Cuáles hermanos nos pueden mostrar el deseo de la muerte?
Okay, which brothers are going to show us where we are identified with objects that love looks a certain way?
Que aquellos hermanos que nos muestran, I lost the idea, sorry. Say
Well,
again, okay.
the ego, it relates love to a sensory experience. If I have this sensory experience, that is love.
El ego cree que las experiencias sensoriales son amor y entonces dice, si tengo esta experiencia sensorial, eso es amor.
So it equates it with if someone looks a certain way.
Y entonces juega con que la persona tenga de cierta forma.
If my mother or father treats me a certain way, that means love.
Si mi madre o mi padre me tratan de cierta manera, eso significa amor.
My spouse or significant other treats me a certain way, that is what love is.
¿My what?
Spouse, esposa.
Okay.
Husband.
Mi pareja, mi esposo o esposa me tratan de cierta manera, eso significa amor.
You know, they treat me a certain way. Oh, that's my definition of love.
Entonces, si me tratan de cierta manera, eso es una demostración de amor.
The people I spend time with treat me a certain way. That is what love looks like.
Entonces, con las personas que paso más tiempo me tratan de cierta manera, eso es amor.
So it's the interpretive function. It's the interpretive function that puts a limit on what love looks like or tastes like or feels like.
Entonces es la función interpretativa la que dice cómo debe saber el amor, cómo debe sentirse el amor.
Love tastes like my grandmother's apple pie at Thanksgiving dinner.
Entonces el amor debe parecerse a la torta de manzana que hacía mi madre en la acción de gracias.
Love looks like all my family gathering together at Thanksgiving and having a specific type of meal. That's what love is.
El amor es tener a mi familia reunida y comer la comida que queremos.
And that seems so innocent.
Y eso parece muy inocente.
But we have to see it's the way the ego plays within the dreaming.
Pero esa es la forma como el juego juega en el sueño.
To actually limit the experience of infinite love, the union with the Father already present.
Para negar la unión con el Padre que está presente.
It makes us have, the play is, if I have a certain role.
Y el juego es, si yo tengo cierto rol,
my role in the world as a mother or a father.
Entonces mi rol es como madre o como padre.
Or a sister or a brother.
Como hermana o hermano.
If I have children.
Si tengo hijos.
Or I'm a daughter or a son.
O soy una hija o un hijo.
That love can be found through that kind of relationship.
Entonces el amor puedo obtenerlo a través de esas clases de relaciones.
But it's what Jesus means in the Bible when he talks about, I have come to bring a sword.
Y eso es lo que quiere decir Jesús cuando dijo que él traía una espada.
Between a mother and a son.
Entre una madre y un hijo.
What he's saying is he's come to cut through these ideas about what love is.
Entonces lo que él quería decir es que él viene a romper estas ideas de lo que creemos que es el amor.
The concepts of what a very limited view of what love is.
Los conceptos de lo que creemos que la limitación de lo que es el amor.
and how the ego uses those interpretations of love from very much suffering and pain.
Y como el ego usa estas interpretaciones sobre todo para el sufrimiento y el dolor.
It's all self-inflicted, suffering and pain, self-inflicted.
Son autoinfligidos, el dolor y el sufrimiento autoinfligidos.
So this is why we must entrust to him all relationships to help us see the holiness in them.
Por eso tenemos que entregarle todas las relaciones a él para que nos muestre la santidad en ellas.
To see where we're using those relationships to deny the love is given by the Father.
Donde estamos usando estas relaciones para negar todo el amor dado por el Padre.
Where we're using them to deny the Father's will for perfect happiness.
Donde estamos usando estas relaciones para negar la voluntad del Padre de perfecta felicidad.
And he knows which beings are going to come in as mighty companions who can help us look deeply inside to see where we're using relationships to deny the truth of our identity.
Entonces, él nos pone con estos compañeros poderosos que nos muestran dónde estamos negando el amor como nuestra identidad.
Where am I using my role as a daughter or a son or a father to deny myself the kingdom of heaven?
¿Dónde estoy utilizando este rol de hijo, hija o padre para negar el reino de los cielos?
And we turn over all relationships to Jesus.
Y entonces le entregamos todas las relaciones a Jesús.
Remember, we are giving over through our willingness, our interpretation of everything.
Y como hemos dicho, le entregamos con nuestra voluntad la interpretación a él de estas relaciones.
And the only way he can truly reveal where we're creating unholy relationships is to give all relationships to him.
Para que él nos muestre dónde estamos queriendo tener relaciones no santas, por eso se las entregamos todas a él para que las.
And this is really one of the greatest challenge for Course in Miracles students is the unwillingness to give every single relationship to him for healing the mind.
Y esta es una de las partes más retantes para los estudiantes del curso, porque no le estamos entregando todas las relaciones a Jesús para que él las utilice para la sanación de la mente.
I'm talking to him about it now. The reason the course takes such a long time for many course students is they will not fully give all their relationships to him and let him guide which ones are most helpful.
Y por eso es que el curso está demorando tanto para algunos seres, porque no le estamos entregando todas las relaciones a Jesús para que él nos diga cuáles son las más útiles.
Many long-time Course in Miracles teachers are in unholy relationships. They have not given every relationship to Jesus's guidance.
Y hay varios profesores de un curso de milagros que están en relaciones no santas porque no se las hemos querido entregar a Jesús.
So a holy relationship is not about being in relationship with whoever you're hanging out with right now and then forgiving everything.
Las relaciones santas no es esta relación que con la persona que está saliendo y que le estás entregando para sí.
A holy relationship defined by Jesus is to ask him out of all those that you are interacting with, which ones are you to be with at what time?
Y entonces tenemos que entregar estas relaciones a Jesús para que nos diga cuánto tiempo debemos interactuar en estas relaciones y con quiénes y cuánto tiempo.
In every single instant.
En cada instante.
And the ego quakes at that. It makes the ego really mad. It wants to maintain unholy relationships and horizontal relationships.
Y el ego se pone furioso con esto, porque él quiere tener relaciones horizontales. No
and what happens when it does that is that it surrounds itself with the ones that's going to agree with its view of the limited view of the world.
Y entonces vas a querer unirte con estos compañeros que te dicen que están de acuerdo que en esta visión limitada del mundo.
The ego is the conviction to maintain the limited view of the world, the dream.
El ego quiere mantener esta limitada visión del mundo.
And
como un
so
sueño.
the way out of that offered by Jesus is, let me give you the ones that are going to help bring you out of the dream.
Y entonces esto es darle a mejor a Jesús estas relaciones para que Él nos traiga las personas que nos van a ayudar a salir del sueño.
So he's saying that for a lot of course students, this is where the hiccup is, because the ego tries to maintain those relationships that really need to transition.
Y esto es un punto clave para los estudiantes del curso porque el ego va a querer mantener estas relaciones que tienen que ser trascendidas.
Because those relationships help support its view of the world.
¿Se digan que?
Those unholy relationships support its keeping the world the denial of love.
Porque estas relaciones no santas son tratar de mantener el mundo.
It doesn't want to hear that. Let Jesus say, okay, these people on every instance, these are the ones you're to be with.
Hay que dejar que Jesús nos diga cada instante con quiénes debemos estar.
It cannot be, I can't overemphasize it enough how important this holy relationship in the atonement is.
Y no puedo dejar de enfatizar lo importante que son las relaciones santas en la expiación.
For those who want in this lifetime to experience God and his kingdom, the joy of God and his kingdom.
Porque para estas personas que quieren experienciar a Dios y su reino en esta vida, son necesarias estas relaciones.
They will make no exceptions to this.
No pueden hacer excepciones en esto.
And the ego is going to go, this is really horrible, and I don't want to give up my children, I don't want to give up my parents, and all those kinds of things.
Y el ego va a decir, esto es horrible, no voy a renunciar a mis hijos, no voy a renunciar a mi familia, a mis padres.
You may need to set aside some of those interactions for a time. That is true.
Él quizá te permita estar en estas relaciones por un tiempo.
And then focus your efforts with the set of mighty companions that Jesus gives you.
Te va a permitir estar lejos de ellos, perdón. Y te va a unir con estos que son tus compañeros poderosos.
But it's never what you think it is. All you will discover is love, infinite, unchanging love.
Pero no podemos saber qué es. Simplemente vamos a encontrar el amor infinito.
The ego will say, oh, it's going to be sacrifice. And, it's just going to go on and on about what all the problems are having to do with Jesus assigned holy relationships.
Y el ego va a decir eso es sacrificio y nos va a mantener viendo como esto, como si todo esto fuera un sacrificio.
But trusting him to come together to join with those that are most helpful to healing. There's so much value in it. It's infinite value.
Hay muchísimo valor en unirte con aquellos compañeros poderosos que son útiles para este proceso.
It's infinite happiness is what it is.
Es infinita felicidad, es lo que es.
Because the idea is to transcend all these limitations, all these ideas that love it looks a certain way or feels a certain way or acts a certain way.
Porque trasciende estas ideas de que el amor debe ser de cierta manera.
You're not a role to fulfill.
Que no tienes un rol que en verdad que cumplir.
You're an infinite being. You're not a mother or father, sister, brother, any of that.
Tú eres un ser infinito. Tú no eres una madre, un padre, nada de eso.
Infinite love is completely above completely transcends form.
El amor infinito trasciende completamente la forma.
So then he gives you the ones and he tells you, say what I tell you to say.
Y él entonces te va a dar los compañeros poderosos y te va a decir qué tienes que decir.
Do what I tell you to do.
Haz lo que te diga que hagas.
The ego, he also is going to put you together with strong mighties that are not going to compromise.
Y te van a dar compañeros poderosos que están dispuestos a no transigir.
That's going to make the ego mad right there.
Eso va a ser una cosa que el ego no le va a gustar.
See, the ego wants to keep its little fiefdom. It wants to keep its little idea about personal identity.
El ego va a querer tener ese pequeño reino mantener la idea de una identidad personal.
But when he signs you to a group of powerful mighties, see, they're not going to compromise on guidance, or they're going to be focused on what's most helpful for healing the mind at all
Pero cuando
levels.
te da compañeros poderosos, ellos no van a transigir en esto.
And in the play of consciousness, some of those mighties are going to make you'll be blisteringly mad.
Y en el juego de la conciencia vas a estar muy molesto.
You know, you'll be just smoking mad, or you'll feel that, you know, the energy, the K word. I want to just eat that mighty.
Voy a querer que espichar a este compañero.
And that's exactly what you need to release from your mind.
Y eso es exactamente lo que necesitas liberar de tu mente.
That's an important mighty that's bringing something into your awareness that needs to be healed.
Y este compañero poderoso te está trayendo algo que tiene que ser sanado en tu mente.
So that's the thing, to sit down with Jesus, especially with the guidance worksheet. You can use the guidance worksheet.
Y ahí es donde te tienes que sentar con Jesús y usar la hoja de trabajo, especialmente la hoja de trabajo.
And then you sit down with Jesus and you ask him, you make a list of all the beings that you're interacting with.
Y entonces te sientas con Jesús y haces toda una lista de los seres con los que tú interactúas.
And if you're uncompromising, you'll join with a mighty companion that doesn't compromise and will really listen to Jesus's voice to hear which ones you're to be interacting with or not.
Y entonces si te puedes unir con un compañero que no transinja y miras esta lista de todas las personas con las que interactúas.
And sometimes it's a matter of timing as well. You know, you have to trust him in his timing.
Y hay un momento que quizá es un tema de tiempo y debes confiar en él en ese sentido.
And he does not follow the ways of the world and how he puts beings together for healing the mind. He just doesn't.
Y él no... ¿Say it again?
He does not put beings together as partners the way of the world, following the ways of the world.
Él no pone estos compañeros poderosos siguiendo las formas del mundo.
See, I could see this in the world. I would choose my friends. I would choose the professional colleagues about the beings that I liked.
Porque en el mundo yo escogería a mis compañeros que me gustan, mis colegas de trabajo que me gustan.
Or did they like birding? Did they like the things that I liked?
Que le gusten las cosas que a mí me gustan.
So it was conditional. See, you surround yourself with someone you consider that keeps your little world safe.
Y es condicional. Entonces vas a unirte con estos seres que hacen que tu mundo esté seguro.
And I could see how the constellation of my family was about safety. It was about safety and comfort.
Y veo como la constelación de mi familia se trataba de seguridad y confort.
But now I can see it was a way to use that to deny that all safety and comfort comes through the Father.
Y veo ahora que esto fue una forma de negar que toda la seguridad viene del Padre.
the infinite light within.
de la luz interior.
But you'll see that they'll come back. I'm here with my sisters now. Two of my sisters, I'm here with them now in the
Y eso
United
puede
States.
volver. Ahora mismo estoy con dos de mis hermanas.
But it has no impact on happiness. Like I just sit as happiness.
Y no, pero esto no tiene impacto en la felicidad. Simplemente me siento como la felicidad.
And I'm grateful for, that I'm grateful for the family constellation, or to have this opportunity, but my happiness doesn't depend on it, you see.
Y estoy agradecida de esta constelación de mi familia, pero mi felicidad no depende de esto.
Happiness comes from the continual celebration of the Father.
La felicidad viene de la constante celebración del Padre.
But it's a good example that, you may be in function with members of your family, but you may move away from the time to let your mind be purified of concepts. You're holding your family hostage.
Porque puede que requieras que te alejes de ellos por un tiempo, porque tú estás aferrado a estos conceptos que los mantienen a ellos y a ti en una cárcel.
See, you're filtering what you perceive about them through your own ideas about yourself, your limited ideas about yourself.
Porque los tienes atados a todos estos conceptos que tienes acerca de ti mismo.
You don't want to be limited in such a way. That's just the path of unhappiness.
No los quieres tener así, porque este es el camino a la infelicidad.
So it's interesting, to observe this, like the interactions don't seem to be different, in some ways, other than I'm much more attentive to what Jesus tells me to say.
Y veo como las interacciones en verdad no cambian mucho, pero sí estoy mucho más atenta a lo que Jesús tiene que decir.
But it's just happiness. You are happiness itself. It's not because you're in proximity to someone else.
Y entonces eres simplemente la felicidad. No eres la felicidad porque estás en proximidad con alguien. Simplemente eres la felicidad.
And there's gratitude for my mighties. I'm very grateful for them.
Y estoy muy agradecida por mis compañeros poderosos. Muy agradecida.
At the center, there's just a stunning beauty of purpose in it. It's just
de mis compañeros poderosos en el centro, es esta belleza de la disposición que tienen.
But to be free of that encumbrance of all the ideas and the filtering, and what love looks like, it's just.
Y entonces estar libre de estos filtros que ponemos de cómo debe ser el amor.
That's our function. Our function is to be it's unnatural. It's so unnatural to be in all that encumbrance about ideas about others.
Y esto es muy natural, pensar el amor como en un tema de unos otros.
So then when Jesus puts you in proximity, he may have you be, in proximity with certain beings.
Y entonces cuando Jesús te pone en proximidad con ciertos seres,
then you start to notice, you're watching where you're getting triggered, where frustrations come up, where
entonces
twitches arise.
O sea, cuando estás en proximidad con estos seres, donde comienza a generarse estos de las partes.
Where your twitches, where you're twitching, or seems
¿Dónde,
like
¿Dónde estás teniendo incomodidades? ¿Dónde te está generando esto incomodidades?
As I said, it's not personal. I would be in the kitchen if someone just would stand near me when I was cooking. I couldn't take it.
Y recuerdo que esto no es personal, pero cuando estaba en la cocina y alguien pasaba al lado mío, sentía esta molestia.
But then you see the twitches and then you join to look and release that. Get to the, oh, I have to talk about the he and the ha. Okay, I'll do that.
Okay. Y entonces simplemente te das cuenta de estas molestias y te unes. Y
Okay.
ahora voy a hablar de el jiji y el jaja.
Okay. So we talked about this last week, but we didn't record this on YouTube. So I'm going to talk about it again now. Just because
Voy a hablar nuevamente de este tema porque
Okay.
la semana pasada no quedó grabado en YouTube.
you know, several beings have been talking about how funny Jesus is. He knows their funny bone. That's exactly right. He does.
Y ciertos seres hablan de lo divertido que es Jesús y es exactamente así.
Okay. So now if you're with a mighty companion that he's given you and you feel a twitch, you know, you feel anger, you feel frustration.
Y entonces si se te ha dado un compañero poderoso y te sientes molesta, te sientes frustrada o frustrado.
Okay, we follow the miracle worksheet protocol.
Entonces seguimos el protocolo de la hoja de trabajo de milagros.
I'm upset, Jesus, tell me, show me.
Jesús, estoy molesto, muéstrame.
Okay, and so the step is to pause and let him, or if you can't pause, you find a mighty companion, you join with, oh, let's look.
Y entonces pausa. Si encuentras un compañero poderoso, le dices, ven, miramos.
So then it's his job to show you the little
Entonces,
golem down there.
Trabajo mostrarte dónde está qué hay debajo de esto.
Okay, the little golem down there that's treasuring that twitch.
Entonces te muestra este golem que ve que esto es un tesoro, que atesora esto.
Okay, so we call that the he, you know, because you see that little golem go, he, oh, look what I got down there.
Y entonces nosotros llamamos esto el jijiji, encontrar el golem que hace jijiji.
He really is trying to tell us, do not take this so freaking seriously.
Entonces él te dice, no tomes esto tan en serio.
Okay, so you get to the he and you just keep releasing Jesus. Do I have more? You just keep letting him show you. He reveals the desire.
Entonces simplemente deja que Jesús te muestre, él te muestra el deseo.
And then you keep releasing until he tells you you're done. There's no more of that desire down there.
Y entonces liberas hasta cuando te diga Jesús que no hay más de gusto por esto ahí abajo.
And you're going to find for some of these that after a while, you're just going to be ha for no reason whatsoever.
Y luego entonces con unos de estos te vas a dar cuenta que comienzas a estar en el modo ja, sin una razón o un motivo por el cual es.
You just start laughing. I'd start laughing. I didn't even know why I was laughing. People would say, why are you laughing so much in those course lessons?
Y mucha gente me dice, ¿por qué se ríe tanto en las lecciones del curso?
Because I'm laughing because every time I'm talking about something he's telling me, I know he's right.
Porque me río porque todo lo que él me dice, yo sé que es cierto.
You know, he's reminding, oh, he was right about that. And then it gets more and more funny. So you
Y luego se vuelve más y más divertido y llega el jaja.
Okay. Now, if you have enough he-he's and you go to enough ha-has, you'll get to ho.
Entonces, si has tenido suficientes jijijis, luego jajajas, vas a obtener el jo.
It's like Santa Claus, ho, Merry Christmas. You're going to have Merry Christmas 24/7.
Y entonces vas a tener el jo de la Navidad.
You know, who could get too serious with he, ha, ho, you know, come on.
No te vas a poder estar muy serio con el jiji, jaja, jo.
Maria is such a good sport to translate this.
María, traduciendo esto.
But really, you know, if you're mad, you have not gotten to the he yet. That's all there is to it.
Sorry.
If you're upset, you have not gotten to the relishing how much you really like being upset. That's it. You've not
Si
gotten
estás,
to
si estás
the-
molesto es porque no has entrado en darte cuenta cuánto disfrutas esto, el jijiji.
Okay. All right. And then you'll get to the ha. You'll see it's funny. It was an idea in your mind that wasn't true. That's the ha ha ha.
Y entonces esto es una idea en tu mente que no es cierta, entonces llegas al jajaja.
And then all those ha ha ha's merge into one ho ho ho. The world ends in happy laughter.
Y entonces con estos jajaja te lleva al jojojo, donde terminamos este mundo con una sonrisa feliz.
Okay. So just real, and it'll crack you up. It'll keep you from being so serious and stay in all these ego patterns.
Y eso nos quita de estar tan serios con estos patrones que tiene el ego.
And not take this whole thing seriously, but you have to follow it.
Es para no tomarnos esto en serio y simplemente por eso necesitamos seguirlo.
You have to follow him on these holy relationships and let him tell you which ones you're to be in and not.
Y por eso debes dejar que él escoja de estas relaciones en cuáles relaciones debes estar.
And the ego, I could see the play in the mind where the ego would try, I could see the play where it would want to preserve the safety. Like there's a part in the back of my mind, oh, I'm going to go just live on my brother's property in a little house.
Entonces, como vemos cómo estas relaciones quieren mantener la seguridad. Voy a vivir en la casa de mi hermano, en la propiedad de mi hermano.
So you can just ask, was that guided? Was that helpful for healing my mind if I had done that? Yes or no?
Y hay que preguntar, ¿eso hubiese sido útil para la sanación de la mente, sí o no?
If you want God in his kingdom, if you want the happiness of the love of the Father, it's these holy relationships, and turning all your relationships over to Jesus is essential.
Entonces ver que esto, entregar todas las relaciones a Jesús es esencial.
The ego thinks it co-opts the atonement going, I know which relationships I need to be in and with.
Porque el ego coarta la expiación diciendo, yo sé con qué seres debo estar.
And it's going to choose the ones that appear to be safe and comfortable.
Y va a procurar mantener estas relaciones que te hacen sentir confortable y seguro.
But it will drag out the atonement. You'll not heal your mind that way.
Pero eso va a evitar la expiación y no va a sanar la mente.
It's in a constant state of searching for those who will agree with its position.
Es una búsqueda de aquellos que están de acuerdo con tu posición.
We used to call that the water fountain, meeting at the water fountain at work.
Eso es la reunión de reunirse en el sitio del agua o del café.
So people at work would meet around the water fountain or the coffee maker, one of two.
En la fuente del agua o en la estación de café.
And it would be a storyline swap. Who's got the worst day? What's the worst thing happening? It would compare stories and look for agreement. Ain't it awful?
Entonces, reunirte ahí para mirar quién ha tenido el peor día y todas las cosas terribles que han pasado.
Okay.
Y de quién está de acuerdo con.
And the same thing it will do it'll do the same thing when it comes to following guidance.
Y es lo mismo que pasa cuando seguimos la guía.
It'll go, oh, I joined with XYZ person and we saw this and we heard it.
Entonces decimos, me uní con esta persona A o B y escuchamos esto.
But the first question to ask, if you want to break that trick, Jesus, who am I to join with on this?
Entonces, si queremos romper este patrón, tenemos que preguntarle, Jesús, ¿con quién me debo reunir?
And do I really want to hear your voice on this?
¿Y en verdad quiero escuchar tu voz en esto?
See, because if you really want to hear he will get you to the one that will not necessarily agree with your position, but they will expose what's true and what's most helpful for healing the mind.
Pero si quieres sanar, vas a unirte con el que te diga él para sanar la mente.
They'll take things like it can look real. Oh my gosh, the ego can look so spiritual in what it will offer.
Porque el ego podría parecer muy espiritual en lo que él ofrece.
It will offer a teacher, some teacher that looks so spiritual, but it won't be a guided relationship. You see, you have to even do that with your relationships with seeming teachers in form.
Y porque él te va a decir, pero esta persona parece muy espiritual, pero incluso también estas relaciones tienes que entregarlas para que te diga con quién debes unirte.
Because the ego is ultimately going to try to choose what it perceives is most safe.
Porque el ego va a tratar de unirte con las personas que crees que te dan más seguridad.
What will protect that sense of personal identity?
Aquellos que mantienen esa personalidad, identidad personal.
So it's like constantly ask Jesus, is this the person, even with respect to come in these sessions, you really want to be clear with Jesus.
Y si queremos ser en verdad claros con Jesús, tenemos que mirar esto.
And it will be uncomfortable with some of the mighties he assigns you to. It's so you can look in your mind and see where you're creating discomfort for yourself.
Y ver que esto algunas veces no es confortable, pero ver que también esto lo estás generando en tu mente.
See, that's what the ego wants, comfort. So it's going to find those reflection that makes it feel comfortable, that it doesn't get that stretch.
Y el ego va a querer mantenerte con esta gente que te hace que estés confortable, pero no va estirarte en este sentido donde necesitas sanar.
But those who want God in his kingdom will stand into and face into that discomfort.
Pero por aquellos que queremos el reino del cielo y que vamos a mantenernos en ese en esta zona no confortable.
There are many times, I would say, there are many times where I would be in a relationship to someone, in appearance, it didn't look smooth.
And didn't what?
Didn't look smooth.
Iba a estar en esta relación quizá que no es como suave.
Sometimes it would look like a big, kerfuffle.
Puede parecer como un gran alboroto esta relación.
But I had one question for Jesus.
Pero entonces tengo una pregunta para Jesús.
Is this relationship complete?
¿Es esta relación finalizada? ¿Ya está completa?
Okay, and if it's not complete, then I would stay with it. That is so important too.
Pero entonces, si no está finalizada, te debes mantener. Eso es muy importante también.
Because that's what the ego does too. It cuts those assignments short. It does anything to divert you from an assignment with the right mighty companion.
Porque el ego va a querer cortar estas relaciones que son con un compañero poderoso.
That is, I can't even emphasize enough how important it is to be so dogged about staying with your assignments with the mighties as long as Jesus tells you to be in them, how important that is.
Y no puedo sobreenfatizar lo importante que es que te mantengas en las asignaciones con los compañeros poderosos que Jesús te dé.
Because we laugh about it in the US, there's this term called blow the popsicle stand. I'm getting out of this popsicle stand.
Porque nos reímos de cuando decimos, voy a volar esta paletería.
Meaning, little kids would go out front of their house and set up and sell popsicles.
Entonces, es de estos niños que salen a comprar paletas en la calle.
Okay, and to make money, and all of a sudden, one would get mad. I'm out of here. I'm just out of this popsicle stand.
Y entonces se ponen furiosos y dicen, voy a volar estación de paletas.
As soon as you're close to a deep revelation, you can count on this. You can count that the ego is going to try to have you blow the popsicle stand.
Inmediatamente tengas una relación de estas, vas a estar seguro de que el ego va a querer volar esta estación de paletas.
I'm out of here. I'm leaving these bastards. You know?
Voy a irme de aquí, voy a dejar estos bastardos.
You can ask Jesus yourself. You can talk to him, ask him. You can be 100% sure that will come up in your mind.
Pueden preguntarle eso a Jesús. Estoy 100% que esto va a surgir en sus mentes.
Because, you know, it's going to say, I want to leave. I want to, all these kinds of things rather than having that one question.
Y vamos a querer decir, me voy, en lugar de tener esta pregunta.
Am I still in a holy assignment with this person or these beings? Yes or no?
¿Estoy aún en relación santa con esta persona? ¿Sí o no?
Are these the companions that I need to heal my mind, most helpful right now for healing my mind?
Y estos compañeros poderosos son los más útiles para la sanación de la mente ahora mismo.
And then you stay with those until he tells you the assignment's done.
Entonces te mantienes con ellos hasta que la asignación haya sido terminada.
And then you're asking him, he will let you know when you just check in, is this assignment's complete? And then you transition.
Y le preguntas, ¿es esta asignación trascendida? ¿Sí o no?
You know,
Y así te mueves.
and that has to do with anything. It has to do with, you know, putting a heart on a Facebook post. You don't do it unless Jesus tells you. I'm telling you that. Yep.
Esto tienes que hacerlo con todo, incluso si pones un corazón en una publicación de Facebook.
You do not reply to an email unless Jesus. I'm telling you, that is being in holy relationship with him, his relationship being the most valuable one to you.
Y así es como debe ser una relación con él. Preguntarle hasta si contestas un email.
And then he will guide you through all of the relationships to purify them so that no matter where you are or who you're with, you're just like the little fountain of joy that God created.
Sorry.
So that no matter where you go or who you're with, you're just a little fountain of joy that God created.
Entonces, no importa con quién vayas, donde vayas, simplemente vas a ser una muestra del amor de lo que Dios te dio.
You know, you're not looking for a certain thing to happen during Thanksgiving for you to be like in a total state of joy. You're just joy.
Simplemente no vas en busca de nada que pase, por ejemplo, en la acción de gracias. Simplemente eres gozo completo.
Yes, I'm grateful to be here in this assignment. And at the same time, I just know I would be happy wherever he would send me. See, that's just heaven.
Estoy agradecida de estar aquí con ellos, pero igual simplemente soy la felicidad en todo momento.
You know, that's heaven. See, that's the kingdom of heaven on earth. You just know you're.
Esto es el cielo en la tierra.
So that holy relationship with Jesus will guide you to the holy relationships with your brothers that will bring you home.
Eso es una relación santa con Jesús y tener relaciones santas con tus hermanos, eso te llevará a casa.
And the beauty many of you are finding in the light circles, you know, by having those joinings with your brother, you're just seeing how powerful that is, how heavenly that is.
Y ver estas uniones con tus compañeros en los círculos de luz, cuánto cielo hay en esto.
By accepting the power of speaking God's holy voice, you know, let him teach you through what you say. See,
Es dejar que él te enseñe
You know, he's teaching you every time you open your mouth and only speak that voice, that invites him to teach you. Oh, that's beautiful.
Cada vez que abres la boca y hablas, es invitarlo a él para que él te enseñe.
See, every time I say yes to what he's telling me to say right now, you know, that's love. That's just, he's teaching me.
Él todo el tiempo te está enseñando.
He's reminding me of identity. You know, he's reminding me of Holy Communion every time I speak that voice.
Él me está recordando esta Santa Comunión cada vez que hablo su voz.
He's reminding me of the truth, you know, that love's always here, no limit.
Él me está recordando la verdad, que el amor está aquí siempre, sin límites.
Sin limite. Sin limite.
Sin límites, sin límites.
Sin limite. Without limit.
Sin límites.
So thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus, for this holy relationship. They're so precious. They're so precious. Those
Gracias,
willing,
Jesús, por esta relación santa. Es muy preciosa, muy preciosa.
you know, those willing to come, you know, those at the center, those willing to join, to see what's truth. This is the fulfillment so that you will see that everything he tells you in A Course in Miracles is true by your direct experience, not just reading it in a book.
Y esto es la forma como Él te enseña a través de esta relación que cada cosa que dice el curso es cierta, pero no leyéndola en el libro, sino en experiencia.
Not just quoting it.
No solo citándolo.
It will detonate in you with every time you come into those light circles and you're willing to have him teach you. And every time you speak his voice, you're giving him an opportunity to have those teachings detonate within you.
Y cada vez que vienes a un círculo y lo escuchas, es dejar detonar toda esta enseñanza en ti.
Every time you accept the guidance assignments and you follow it, you're just opening yourself up totally to be shown all that you are.
Y cada vez que aceptas estas asignaciones, estás aceptando todo el amor que tú eres.
And to see that you're just unlimited.
Ver que tú eres ilimitado.
It loves unlimited. It doesn't have limits.
Me encanta lo ilimitado, que no tiene límites.
So I want to open it up to the beloveds to see if there are any questions about holy relationship.
Entonces voy a abrir el micrófono a los compañeros poderosos si alguien tiene alguna pregunta acerca de las relaciones santas.
I have a question.
Okay. Hi, David. Can we get you on camera?
¿Es David? ¿Lo podemos tener en cámara?
I am here.
There's another David, I think. Oh, this David?
Yeah.
Oh,
¿Es este David?
oops. No, that's not it.
It's you.
There we go.
Hi, Cay.
Hi, beloved.
Hola, Cay. Hola, amado.
And hi, everybody.
Hola a
Is the-
todos.
So the light's on, and can you tilt the camera up just a little bit so we can see? You're so tall. There we go. Oh, okay.
So I heard you mention that as we ask Jesus to choose which relationships are most helpful,
Como tú mencionaste, debemos decirle a Jesús cuáles son las relaciones que más útiles que debemos tener.
that we may have to step aside from our special relationships with our loved ones, like our family, for a while.
Y que tenemos que hacernos a un lado por un tiempo quizá de nuestras relaciones principales como nuestras relaciones principales, como nuestra familia.
So that's not saying that you'll never see them again or you'll never interact with them again, but it's just important to spend time purifying your mind.
Lo que parece es que no vamos a estar con ellos por un tiempo, pero mientras estamos purificando nuestra mente, pero igual los vamos a volver a ver.
That was encouraging for me.
Eso fue, me generó confianza a mí.
Yes,
So-
and you can see that he sent me here I'm with my earthly family now, you know?
Y como ves, él me mandó aquí y estoy con mi familia terrenal aquí.
You know, it's just you just trust. I just trusted him, you know.
Simplemente confiamos en él.
I just never, I don't know. There's a part of me that just didn't see that he was going to take something away on. I guess maybe in the beginning I thought he might take something away on it, but I just
Pensé en un principio que me iba a quitar algo.
but there's yeah.
Go ahead.
But there was a part of me that knew that every single interaction, every brother, all my family members, I would just work with him continually to have him show me the slightest twitch with anyone, you know?
Pero entonces dejé que él me mostrara con cada uno de ellos, con cada uno de los miembros, cualquier molestia que podía tener.
And sometimes it is helpful to just step away from seemingly the ones you're supposedly in the world closest to.
Y por un tiempo es útil estar lejos de estas personas que son las más cercanas.
You know, it's like we can't see the forest or the trees when we're in the forest. So if he takes us out, we can have like a wider view.
Entonces no podemos ver los árboles desde el bosque, tenemos que tener una mejor vista.
So
You
is your relationship with them now, do you feel or see that it's different or?
It's
tu relación con ellos ahora de alguna manera diferente?
It's very interesting. It's the same and different at the same.
Es muy interesante, es lo mismo pero diferente.
I just can't. I'm just happy. I'm just happiness, like just joy. And you still have the same top, you know, they'll bring up food. My whole the whole family like revolves around food.
Y es lo mismo, pero simplemente eres felicidad, eres la felicidad misma, el gozo.
Sisters,
y todo seguimos con el mismo protocolo alrededor de la comida.
She's like in the kitchen from the time my plane landed. You know,
In the kitchen, what? Oh.
Your sister is in the kitchen from the time her plane landed.
You know, before my plane
en la
landed.
cocina preparando algo cuando mi vuelo estaba aterrizando.
You know, so all I do is just watch if there is it, because I check with Jesus. I asked him while I was here, okay, Jesus, I'm still in assignment to be here. That's my priority. My priority is whatever Jesus' assignment gives me.
Porque mi prioridad es lo que Jesús me asigne, tu asignación que yo esté aquí.
And just see if there are any twitches that come up, you know.
Y ver las molestias que puedan surgir en esto.
But yeah, and in some ways it's like no different, but there's just
De alguna manera no hay diferencia.
there's just not the attachment to all the ideas. Yes, did I enjoy the food? Yes, I sure did.
Entonces, pero no hay apego a ninguna cosa. Si disfruto la comida, sí, de seguro.
Look, my niece's husband, you know, is one of the best caterers. His company is one of the best caterers in the United States. Look, they catered. It was good food. A caterer. A caterer means they provide food for events, okay?
Okay. Yes. El esposo de mi sobrina es un proveedor de comida para varios lugares.
You know,
Por de Estados Unidos.
But it's just you're uncoupled from, like, this is the experience. I'm not coupled. Yes, thank you. It's there. I can enjoy the brisket, you know, But it's just different. You're just a fountain. Your happiness is not dependent on that thing, the way the brisket tastes or it doesn't taste, you know?
Entonces, tu felicidad no depende de cómo se sepa o esté cierta comida.
You know, you're not like, I could see on some family reunions, if this one, like, for instance, my sister Lorraine could not make it in. She's got COVID for the 3rd time.
Y, por ejemplo, mi hermana no pudo llegar porque tiene COVID por 3ª vez.
You know, and I love Lorraine. I mean, what can I say, you know, but there's no twitch or anything over whether she's here or not, you know, it's just love.
Entonces yo la amo a ella, pero no tengo ninguna molestia si ella está o no está. Simplemente es amor.
You know, it's whoever came, you know, you're guided to whatever interactions. There's not a limit in anything.
No hay límite en ninguna cosa, independiente de la interacción.
You know, I don't, yeah, then you every interaction is just whatever that interaction is. It's not, I could see like in the course, early stages of the course, how there is a hunter.
Puedo verlo, como lo decía en el curso, que hay un cazador.
You know, there'd be a hunter, or especially in family constellations. Well, why aren't they referring to me? Or they're all talking about their stuff and they're not even interested in my stuff, you know?
Entonces esta cacería, porque en las constelaciones familiares es porque están hablando de esto, porque no están mirando lo que estoy necesitando, pensando o queriendo.
Well, nobody's laughing at my joke. You know, there's just none of that.
Nadie se está riendo de mis chistes, todo esto.
You know, it'd be like constantly that hunting for like proof of attention or somebody loves me or.
Entonces esta cacería por aprobación, por atención.
You know, I could see why those reunions were hell. It was constantly looking for validation or some other kind of thing like that.
Y yo este tipo de relaciones eran el infierno porque estaba tratando de buscar validación.
And then you're just happy, whoever's there, and it's, you know, you're happy, and then you have an interaction, but there's no, you know, it doesn't stick like glue in consciousness or something.
Entonces, pero estoy en esta reunión, pero no estoy pegada al juego de la conciencia.
Here's the checklist of what has to happen in order for me to be happy, you know.
Esta es la lista de cosas que deben pasar en esta reunión para que yo sea feliz.
I'll ask Jesus, see if I'm saying that. Yeah, you know, it's just.
Y le estoy preguntando a Jesús si puedo decir esto.
You know, but I mean, I would accept that. I trust him enough if he said that, you know, I wasn't, if he had said, okay, you're not going to Thanksgiving.
Yo confío en él, porque si él me hubiese dicho no vas a la reunión de acción de gracias.
I mean, it happened to correspond with other things, but again, I wouldn't have had one twitch if he said, you know, no, that wasn't most helpful for healing your mind. That's where you want to get to.
Y digamos, no hubiese tenido ninguna molestia porque si me dice que no es lo más útil para la sanación de la mente, no hubiese ido. Y así la idea es que lleguemos todos a esto.
Where the most important thing to me is healing my mind.
Porque lo más importante para mí es la sanación de la mente.
It's above all else.
Por encima de todo.
So do you notice after all of the purification you've done, does your family feel different about you or act different or treat you different, or are they different, or?
No.
¿Y hay algún cambio?
No.
Ellos de alguna manera, ellos se tratan de alguna manera diferente. ¿Qué dice nada?
Not a whit. They have no interest in what I'm doing, what's happening in Mexico. You know, it was like
Ellos
like
no están interesados en lo que está pasando o lo que está haciendo.
It was like 30 seconds and then no one's interested whatsoever.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
30 seconds and no one's interested.
That's right, you know.
30 segundos
Yeah, what are you,
y nadie está interesado.
what's happening? You know, where are you living now? Oh, that's good. Okay, well.
Y entonces me dice, ¿qué está pasando? ¿Dónde estás viviendo? Ah, bueno, ok.
Yeah, you look good. Okay, whatever
Ah,
else,
está bien,
you
tú
know.
te ves bien.
Yeah, okay, the gift of no specialness. So
No hay especialismo.
I'll just sit there, you know, just like you can't explain it. You know, it doesn't you know, if someone were to ask me or something comes up and Jesus puts you into service, that's
Si alguien me
I
pregunta
just
y
sit there.
Jesús me dice que está en servicio, hablaría.
But you know, that desire, that wanting something constantly, you know, I want to be validated, or I want, oh my
Pero
God.
ese
What the hell?
querer, esa
But,
cacería por ser aceptado, por ser validado, ya no lo hay.
No, they don't, no difference.
No, pero no, el resto es muy diferente.
Except that I'm not triggered if they're, you know. I just sit there happy. That's it. That's our function. You sit there happy. You don't expect anything from anybody.
Entonces, ese es tu trabajo, ser feliz sin esperar nada de nadie.
But you know, okay, I did mention to my sister, you know, that's an awfully small pie you made there.
Entonces, le mencioné algo a mi hermana porque hizo un pequeño pastel de manzana.
Are you sure you want to bring that to the rest of the family? You know.
Y me dijo,
You know, that little
¿estás segura que vas a traer
piece?
esto para la familia?
You know, but there's no attachment to it, you know. You're just, you know, it's still playful. It's yeah, it's things aren't taken personally, you know.
No, se toman las cosas personales.
You know, and their purpose with me would be not the same as with you and other beings like here that come here, you know, where the mind, that's your priority. Your priority is to see the truth. So then we have that relationship together.
Y entonces mi prioridad es ver la verdad. Y así son todas mis relaciones.
I mean, there's times you just want to sing it from the top of the mountain, but you know, it's just for me, you know, it's just for me.
Y todo esto es para mí.
You know, and then if I have a function with someone to share more, whatever you do, but it's.
Si tengo una función de compartir más tiempo con alguien, eso haría.
So yeah, to answer your question, no, they don't treat, no difference.
Entonces, si eso contestó tu pregunta, ellos no me tratan de manera diferente.
No.
Thank you, Cay.
Gracias,
Okay.
Oops.
Anyone else have a question? Oh, hi, Mary.
¿Alguna pregunta?
Hi, Cay.
Hola, Cay.
Oh, beloved.
There are a few that are still looking for you here.
Hay algunos que estamos aquí esperándote.
He just had a chewy and now I don't know where he went.
Ahí está hablando en silencio y le hemos dado
He's over here.
por aquí algo para comer.
He's on the couch.
Oh,
Está
good.
en el sofá.
Okay, so my question
Okay.
has to do with I can see myself protecting certain family relationships with my children.
Me veo a mí misma protegiendo algunas de mis relaciones con mis hijos.
And I've been through this process of almost 3 years of being, if you will, physically separated from them not the first time in their lives because they're grown, but certainly not like it has been the last 3 years.
Y he estado separado de ellos por los últimos casi 3 años, aunque ellos ya son grandes
And I just returned from a trip to see them in October.
Y hace poco regresé de haberlos visto en octubre.
And I noticed what I observed about myself was really enjoying the comfort and security and pleasure
Entonces lo que pude ver de mí misma era que disfrutaba el confort y la seguridad de estar con ellos.
So it's not, my question is not really about that, but it's about who, you know, talking with Jesus about who I'm still in function with within my family.
Entonces mi pregunta no era con relación a esto, pero mi pregunta es, ¿con quién aún estoy en relación santa de mi familia? ¿Con quién estoy en relación santa con mi familia?
And so joining with you, with a brother to look at or ask Jesus, who am I in function with?
Y uniéndome con los compañeros y contigo, ¿con quién estoy preguntando esto? ¿Con quién estoy en función?
And if we're in function to see the truth, what is it that, well, now I can see, I want to step in and manage it. What is it that we're supposed to see?
Entonces, ¿qué es lo que debo ver?
So I
Aquí.
guess what I'm really talking about is there's a deep commitment.
Hay un profundo compromiso.
You know what I'm going to say.
Tú sabes lo que voy a decir.
There's a deep commitment to the transformation or whatever, bringing those relationships from special relationships to holy relationships.
Hay un gran compromiso de traer estas relaciones especiales a relaciones santas.
Yeah, and it just, yeah, so if you could speak to that.
Sí, podrías hablar de eso.
Yeah, this complete, it's necessary, you know, this complete giving over of all relationships, and the ego is going to interpret that as a loss, as a sacrifice.
Y es esencial que entreguemos estas relaciones a Jesús y el ego lo va a interpretar como un sacrificio.
That turning over all relationships to guidance from Jesus and who we interact and when we interact.
Y entregarle todas estas relaciones a Jesús y ver cuándo, con quién interactuar y cuándo interactuar.
And it's just a symbol of giving over our mind. I mean, we never really, but giving over the ideas, the concepts we have about ourselves to Jesus.
Es darle todos estos conceptos e ideas que tenemos a Jesús sobre nosotros y sobre todo.
You cannot overestimate
Tú no puedes sobreestimar esto.
the depth of the tentacles having to do with the mother-father identity and form. It's very deep into the mind.
Porque esta identidad de padre, madre en la mente es muy fuerte.
You know, all of these things can be quite deep, but that parental son-daughter play in consciousness it's brutal. It's really brutal, but we interpret it to be something special.
Esta relación de padres e hijos es muy brutal, pero el ego la interpreta como algo especial.
And you can recognize, even with this very deep looking and devotion that you give into looking, it takes a lot of looking.
Y te puedes dar cuenta que con todo este mirar que has tenido, todo se requiere muchísimo mirar, muchísimo.
And you also recognize how quickly the ego will just come in and take resonance, even when you're in assignment with them. It'll come in and co-opt.
Y cómo el ego va a querer entrar, incluso estando en asignación con ellos, a coartar.
Because like you're saying, it's such a habit of holding these images of brother, sister, mother, daughter in our mind of what that is and the expectations.
Sorry.
We hold those images in our mind of brother, sister, mother, father.
Nosotros retenemos estas imágenes en nuestra mente de que el rol de madre, padre, hijo, hija.
And that's holding our own image, self-image of ourselves, a limiting self-image of ourselves through that lens.
Y eso es retener nuestra imagen nuestra imagen personal.
Yeah, something you said to me when I returned and we were joining about this was very profound. I asked you why.
Entonces, algo que me dijiste que fue muy profundo cuando regresé del viaje fue ¿por qué?
Or what Jesus has to say about the deep grief I seem to go into at the seeming loss of those relationships.
Y ver este duelo que tenía por la creencia en que estaba perdiendo estas relaciones.
And what you said that you were hearing was that it's really that I was trying to use my children to replace God.
Y lo que me dijiste es que estaba utilizando a mis hijos para tratar de reemplazar a Dios.
And that the grief was over the loss of my relationship with God,
Yeah.
not with my children.
Y que el duelo era de mi relación con Dios, no con mis hijos.
Yes.
That's very profound.
Eso es muy profundo.
It's another great example of why Jesus's interpretation is so essential.
Eso es otra razón por la cual la interpretación de Jesús es esencial.
Because without him, at least I wouldn't have seen how all these forms and figures were being used to substitute for the love of the Father.
Porque sin su guía no me hubiese podido dar cuenta de cómo utilizamos estas figuras para sustituir todo el amor del Padre.
And if the commitment is there to truly have that relationship with God,
Y si el compromiso es en verdad tener esta relación con Dios,
I want to see that in my relationship with my children.
quiero ver todo esto en mis relaciones con mis hijos.
Not about having fun or doing familiar things or whatever.
No divertirme con ellos o hacer cosas familiares o lo que sea.
Yeah, it's so critical. I mean, it takes trust to see this.
Es muy crítico, pero se requiere confianza para ver esto.
The eye simply does not know what happiness is. It doesn't. It has a concept of happiness. It doesn't know what it is.
Es ver que no sabemos qué es la felicidad, que no sabemos, que tenemos simplemente un concepto de qué es la felicidad.
I'm talking about happiness of God, you know, the joy of the Father's love.
Estoy hablando de la felicidad de Dios, de la unión con Dios.
Okay, and it can't know it. It can't know it. That we're never happy in the dream. The dream is a denial of happiness.
No puedes ver esto porque el sueño es la negación de la felicidad.
So the ego associates, it calls pleasure happiness. I'm with this being and therefore that is good and it feels good.
El ego va ver esto como placer. Entonces, si estoy con este ser, se siente bien.
I feel good because I have this little baby.
Me siento bien porque tengo este pequeño bebé.
I feel happy because, you see, it's always a because.
Y soy feliz porque siempre es un porque.
So that identity of a mother is a very deep because energy.
Y la energía de la... ¿Say again?
A very deep because. It has a lot of becauses in there.
Hay muchos porqués ahí, muchos porqués.
I'm happy because I have these little children.
Soy feliz porque tengo este pequeño bebé.
I'm happy because I spend time with them.
Estoy feliz porque he pasado tiempo con él.
So it's those concepts of the mother, it has to be taken all the way down to the bottom until it's, you know, the complete mother identity is gone. I just have to say it. You know?
Estos conceptos de madre tienen que llevarse profundamente en la mente para ir y mirarlos hasta que se eliminen.
Because the ego uses that to usurp the power of God, you know, and make
Porque
God
él
dead.
lo usa como usurpar el poder de Dios y como muerte.
And like you say, to keep the experience of grief alive in the mind, the loss of God, it uses that to keep the experience, the relishing of the loss of God.
Y entonces se utiliza esto como un duelo por de la pérdida del amor del padre.
So this whole conversation is one that the ego will quake in its boots on, but it has to be seen. For peace of mind, for the God's kingdom, it's got to be seen and looked at in the mind.
Oh my gosh. Could you please say it again, Kay?
It has to be looked at in the mind, these concepts around mother, daughter, brother,
Tienen que
sister.
mirar todos estos conceptos en la mente, madre y hijo, hermanos.
How these are made to obscure the love that's here.
Cómo usamos estos conceptos para oscurecer que el amor está aquí.
You know, I'm asking Jesus, these have to be completely undone.
Le estoy preguntando a Jesús, ¿todo esto se tiene que deshacer?
But he may give you assignments in proximity with those beings. It's not to say you necessarily may not ever see them again or something.
Y quizá él te dé asignaciones cerca de ellos, no quiere decir que nunca los vayas a volver a ver.
But you turn it over where healing becomes the most important thing, and then you trust him for how that is guiding the atonement.
Pero le entregas todo a él para que él te guíe.
And you'll see ultimately nothing gets taken away. That's like an ego's going to scream and go, I'm losing something, and no.
Y te vas a dar cuenta que nada se te va a ser quitado, pero el ego va a gritar y decir que sí.
No, you just ultimately see, and you can never lose anything because you're everything. You know, how can you lose something when you're everything?
¿Cómo vas a poder perder algo cuando lo eres todo?
What is everything lose something? How is that going to happen?
¿Cómo va a poder ser eso que podamos perder?
Yeah, what I'm hearing right now is
Lo que estoy escuchando ahora mismo es que
we've talked about how being here or following guidance is like the banks of the river.
Estar aquí es como, what?
How following guidance from Jesus is like the banks of the river. It keeps me focused.
Es como lo que me va llevando el río que me permite mantenerme enfocada, mantener esta guía.
And what I've noticed is that because the focus here at the center is continually bringing us back to what is the guidance.
Porque el foco aquí en el centro es referirnos siempre a qué es la guía. ¿Cuál es la guía?
When I return back to that, my perception of that situation of those relationships that seem so entrenched.
Y entonces cuando me refiero a estas relaciones que son un poco enredadas.
To some degree, there is a stronger internal, if you will, or reliance on guidance while I'm in that situation, although I don't know.
Si he estado en estas relaciones, no cogí la idea.
I guess, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, well, what you're seeing is that it's helpful to be around those mighties that are devoted 24/7.
Yeah.
Entonces lo que tienes que ver si es útil estar con estos compañeros que son comprometidos 7/24.
And there really isn't another way around it that I could find, that it takes 24/7, the diligent for God and his kingdom. It really takes that.
Realmente se requiere esto, se requiere este compromiso 7/24 para estar en el reino de Dios, para vivir el reino de Dios.
And at the same time, to have the mind be where there are just no compromises, regardless where we walk the earth. That's where we want to be.
Y estar con nuestros compañeros que no transingen es esencial.
Because God's here, regardless of where we walk the earth. The love of God is just like ever shining wherever we go. We just don't want to hit the snooze button when we seem to walk out a door.
Y Dios y Jesús están donde quiera que vayamos. No quiere decir que Él nos haya cerrado la puerta.
And it really is a decision. It's just, as he says, it's a decision that his guidance is the most important thing. And the test will come on that. The test will come.
Y la decisión es
the test will come on that, how committed you are to the kingdom of heaven.
qué tan comprometido estás con Dios y su reino.
And so the commitment has to be, it's the last unanswered question. I'm going to see everything, and I'm only going to speak his voice.
Y es compromiso de responder la última pregunta no contestada y el compromiso por Dios.
And someone said, I can't remember exactly the words, but that seems like a really high standard.
Y alguien me dijo, no me acuerdo las palabras, eso parece un estándar muy alto.
But what it's really a symbol of is vigilance for God and his kingdom, because the ego is every which way to avoid God's kingdom, the kingdom of heaven within.
Y esto es la vigilancia por Dios y su reino, porque el ego es todo lo opuesto.
Yeah, that question came up. You and I joined on a particular choice that I made while I was there.
Y la pregunta vino por algo de una decisión que tomé cuando estaba allá.
Which seems such a natural choice to make.
Que parecía una decisión muy natural que tomar.
But I didn't ask myself, is this action I'm about to take most helpful for healing my mind?
Pero no pregunté si esa acción que iba a tomar era lo más útil para la sanación de mi mente.
Is it truly in function with this person?
¿Estoy en verdad en función con esta persona?
Or is it going sideways?
¿O es irme por los laterales?
Yeah. All that practice in pausing and asking those questions.
Toda la práctica en parar y preguntar y hacer estas preguntas.
So that it allows for the spaciousness to hear the answer.
Es darnos el espacio para escuchar las respuestas.
It seems like, I don't know how to say this. I keep saying I'm a work in progress.
¿Qué puedo decir? Siempre digo que soy que estoy en un proceso de.
I think that may be a cop out, but
well,
estoy en proceso aún.
It's just a desire for an experience that needs to be released. That's all. What is my desire not to?
¿Cuál es mi deseo de no liberar esto?
Or we just look at what belief makes it okay not to be 100% in with you all the time, Jesus, and then you just look at it,
Simplemente es preguntar dónde no estoy siendo 100% comprometida con esto.
It's really, the belief that there's some kind of sacrifice in accepting the Father's kingdom. See, the only way the ego can survive is to have that belief buried somewhere in the subconscious mind.
Entonces, la única forma como el ego sobrevive es que haya esta idea de que hay un sacrificio para conseguir el reino de Dios y para conseguir el reino de Dios.
That's how it preserves its little kingdom.
Esa es la forma como él preserva su pequeño reino.
Because it's going to go, God is bad and the ego's good. That's just
él
how
va a
it
hacer
works.
que el ego es bueno y Dios es malo.
The concepts of the world I made are heaven, and God's the true reality is hell.
Que Dios y su verdad es el infierno y que el ego es el cielo.
I can just see how helpful at the point something where it just switched in my mind where I saw not a single desire is worth it.
Y yo sé que hubo una parte donde hubo un cambio en mi mente donde dije, ningún deseo es valioso.
that every single pain and suffering is generated out of desire, and there's not one of them worth having.
Que todo este dolor y sufrimiento son generados por no.
So there's not one desire worth keeping. And so therefore, then the focus just goes to the miracle. I'm going to get a miracle on every one. And
Por eso me enfocaba en obtener el milagro para cada uno.
so then, it's no longer falling for that trick of sacrifice, or there's no goodies. The ego has no goodies.
No había creencia en el sacrificio, porque al ego le gustan estos gusticos.
That's just finally going, no, there's nothing that it offers that I want. That's the final decision. It just can't.
Esa fue la última decisión. No hay nada que me ofrezca que sea valioso.
And there's nothing more important to me than God and his kingdom. The mind has to hone in on that. Otherwise, these sneaky little things come in. They're bastards, we think, oh, this is somehow, there's a belief in the mind, it's some kind of good deal, but it never is. It never is good.
Porque en la mente hay una creencia que esto es un buen negocio, pero nunca lo es.
So then the mind just goes into, pure healing with Jesus, because there's no impediments anymore. There's no pretend like there's some kind of value in hell.
Entonces dejamos esta pretensión de que hay algún valor en el infierno.
This is a great topic because it's in holy relationships that the ego, unholy relationships is where the ego is going to insist there's some kind of value.
Porque en estas relaciones no santas es donde el ego va a decirnos que hay algo valioso.
And it's going to go, oh my God, you're really giving up something to your, if you give up. See, it's always using the words, if I give up these relationships. No, they're
Entonces, el ego va a decir, estás renunciando a estas relaciones.
They never existed. It's an idea. It's a concept. It's a concept.
Nunca existieron. Simplemente son un concepto.
You can never lose what's never been real anyway.
No puedes perder nada de lo que nunca ha sido real, en verdad real.
So it tortures itself. It keeps, it's a double-edged sword that it likes to sit on and rock on a double-edged sword.
Esto es mantener la autotortura.
It sits on the double-edged sword, and it goes, I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't, but it loves both of them.
Likes both what?
It likes both sides of the sword.
A double-edged sword, it loves it.
Que le encanta los dos lados de la espada.
See, it's going to be sacrifice if I give this up.
Entonces, esto va a ser un sacrificio si renuncio a ello.
But it's so it can, it's not a future. Sacrifice is not a future experience.
El sacrificio no es una experiencia futura.
Okay, there's no future. So it's saying I'm going to sacrifice so it can experience sacrifice right now. It goes, I will experience sacrifice if. Okay.
Entonces, el sacrificio no es una experiencia futura. Sí, decimos, voy a tener sacrificio, la estás teniendo ahora mismo.
I will experience sacrifice if I don't see John anymore. I'm not going to see John anymore, and that's going to be sacrifice.
Voy a tener sacrificio si no veo a John nunca más.
No, it's doing that so it can experience the sacrifice feeling right here, right now.
Y entonces eso te lleva a que tengas sientas el sacrificio aquí y ahora mismo.
It's a trick so it can feel sacrifice right this minute.
Es un truco. Puedes experimentar el sacrificio o estás experimentando el sacrificio ahora mismo.
So it gets to feel fear right now, fear about that sacrifice right now. It gets to feel it and go, it's going to be in the future, but it's feeling it right now.
Pero entonces creo que va a tener miedo y eso te lleva a tener miedo ahora mismo.
So it can sacrifice the kingdom, the awareness of all the love of the Father right now, and it plays that future game, but it's so it can feel hell and disenfranchised from the Father right this minute.
Creo que voy a experimentar el infierno como una cosa futura, pero realmente la experimento ahora mismo en este justo instante.
So all it's fighting to keep is ideas, but none of them are true. You know, it just.
Esto es para mantener estas ideas que no son verdad.
Oh. This is a good subject, Mary. Thanks for bringing it up.
Es un buen tema. Gracias, Mary, por traerlo.
It's very dedicated. It's very dedicated to truth.
Hay mucha dedicación a la verdad.
Does it feel complete?
¿Se siente completo?
For now.
Okay.
Por ahora.
Okay, Renee, you had a question?
Ok, René, ¿tienes alguna pregunta?
Yes.
Sí.
Well, it's been guided for me to look at the desire for control.
He sido guiada a mirar el deseo de control.
And I'm wondering if I am willing to accept a miracle for the desire for control.
Y quisiera ver si estoy dispuesta a aceptar un milagro para el deseo de control.
What do you hear?
¿Te escuchas?
I'm hearing yes.
Estoy escuchando que sí.
There's been a lot of releasing of deep tension when I've been looking at this.
You need to ask Jesus, am I fully willing? Because there's still, what I hear you can talk to him about is
Okay.
still a belief that there's some kind of sacrifice in fully releasing. Because
Okay.
what she's really wanting to focus on is the full, because you will get you get miracles, you get energetic releases, and there's some miracles. And
Yeah.
now you want to take it until there's not an ooch squeak of it left.
Okay.
You wouldn't ask unless you want that.
Yes.
Okay, so she's kind of on a mission here.
Yes.
The complete, yeah, you hear it now, you hear the
Yes.
certainty in her voice. So she's on a mission to, which is good. You got to be with these.
Yeah.
Not to have, because you're a powerful infinite being, not to have one ooch, one scratch, especially on control. It's brutal. Control is
Especialmente en control, es muy brutal. Y parece que aún hay algo de sacrificio que tiene que ser liberado.
So
Yeah.
ask Jesus to show you where you think that's going to be sacrifice. Like, yeah, so you just.
Pregúntale a Jesús para que te muestre dónde crees que aún hay sacrificio.
Jesus, do I still think it's sacrifice if I completely release, if I see this, the truth of this in my mind?
Jesús, creo que ese sacrificio, si libero esto totalmente de mi mente.
Yeah, it's almost like I get a hit off of.
Mary,
Off of
can
it.
you unmute? Can you unmute that? Thank you. You get what kind of hit?
Like a hit. I just get a hit off of even that sacrifice, even thinking or even considering releasing that, having a miracle for it. I see how it's like energizing almost, like, yeah.
Pleasure.
Yes. Yes.
She's catching the pleasure in it.
Está viendo el placer de esto. Ella está viendo ese placer.
See, when you
Yeah.
really get onto this, like she's catching it, you start catching it, you go, I'm going to lose this on, and you can go right to the relishing of the pleasure of sacrifice.
Y entonces cuando comienzas a ver esto, puedes ir directo al placer del sacrificio.
So you can spend some time with Jesus on that or try and
Yep.
see if he'll.
Puedes pasar tiempo con Jesús en este tema.
Ooh, that's smoky dance
Yes.
with the devil.
That's a good
That's a-
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Esto es una buena acción de gracias.
Gift.
Smoky dancing with the devil.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question, Ray. Go for God. That's good.
Vamos por Dios.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. See, that's first of all discipline in the mind to ask and get that level of clarity when you're
Eso
looking,
requiere mucha disciplina mental para lograr este nivel de claridad.
and not to leave one ooch of these things in your subconscious mind.
Y no dejar ni un residuo en tu mente subconsciente.
Okay, I have one more question.
Kay, tengo una pregunta más.
So when it comes to making out the list of all of my relationships,
Entonces, cuando hago la lista de todas mis relaciones que tengo,
the fear of sacrifice that I feel now is, how is everybody going to take it when I, break it on them?
entonces una de la parte de sacrificio que siento es cómo lo van a tomar ellos.
So if I ask Jesus to make the transition for me,
¿Le puedo pedir a Jesús que haga la transición de este proceso por mí?
will he do that on each one?
¿Él lo haría con cada una de ellas?
Well, I think for the time being, like I'm asking Jesus, while you're at the center, you can just look as each, because you are with a group of mighties right now, you can just look as each one comes up.
Y como ahora estás en el centro con estos compañeros poderosos, lo que puedes hacer es mirar cada una de estas relaciones y ver qué surge.
So then we can just look together, you get contacted by a certain one or another one, and then we just ask Jesus how to handle that one.
Entonces, si eres contactado por esta relación o por la otra, le vamos a preguntar a Jesús cómo manejarla, cada una.
And the real beauty being at the center, being a silent center, for a while you can just get a stay of lightness just because you can say, I'm in deep contemplation right now and I'll get back, and you just take that time for yourself and some of these things will become clear.
Y entonces, como estamos en un centro de devoción, de silencio, todo esto es como un espacio donde ellos saben que tú estás aquí y que te va a ser un momento para tener esta claridad.
Okay, thank you.
Gracias. Okay, gracias.
But it is good for other beings that are not, like Mary says, at the center, it's kind of like banks in a river, which is really helpful for getting the mind focused on the healing.
Y para estos seres que nos escuchan, el centro es como donde se encausa un río, porque hay mucho enfoque.
But in some instances where you're not in that, it is good to go through as you're being contacted or, you have a lot of family members or stuff like that and just have a talk with Jesus of each of them.
Y cuando tienes una relación con una familia muy grande, puedes ir por cada uno de ellos teniendo una conversación con Jesús acerca.
In some instances, he'll handle it for you.
Y Jesús lo manejará por ti.
I mean, he's always doing things that will support you.
Él siempre está haciendo cosas que te apoyan a ti.
But sometimes he's going to have you say something, like you have to be direct about it and do what he tells you to say.
Pero él de pronto te va a decir cosas que tengas que decir directamente tú.
He's going to tell you to say whatever's most helpful for healing your mind.
Y él te va a decir lo que es más útil para la sanación de la mente.
But these are really good questions to ask and to have Jesus talk to people. Just have it more in your awareness to be asking him, am I to be in contact with this one?
Y podemos preguntarle a Jesús, ¿debo estar en contacto con esta persona?
Am I in holy relationship with that one?
¿Estoy en relación santa con esa persona?
You know, it's really, I had a really beautiful joining with someone where they brought their list and said, okay, which ones of these am I in relationship with? And we just went through the list.
Y fue muy lindo con una persona que nos unimos y me trajo la lista de todas las personas y me preguntó con quiénes estoy en relación santa de
And you'll
esto.
see, ultimately, it is just a relief to have him handle all that for you.
Y entonces ver que esto es una liberación, dejar que él lo maneje por ti.
There's like so many things we do out of some idea of obligation, or we have to respond, or no, you don't.
Y porque hay cosas que manejamos como una clase de obligación y no tienes por qué ser así.
You just follow guidance on who you respond to, who you talk to, what you say. It becomes very light.
Y se vuelve muy ligero cuando le preguntamos a él a quién le contesto, cuándo le contesto.
And it does not mean that whoever that being is going to be totally thrilled about what you're going to say to them. Believe me.
Y eso no quiere
It does not mean that being, when Jesus tells you to say something, that they're going to jump for joy with whatever you tell them.
no quiere decir que estos seres se vayan a unir o algo así cuando tú les des estas respuestas.
Or they're going to agree with you.
O que vayan a estar de acuerdo contigo.
Or that they're going to sing your praises.
O que te vayan a
Sing your praises. It really tell you how
They're going to be,
no te van a decir lo maravilloso que tú eres.
But the only question is, have you fulfilled your function being to speak what he tells you to say?
Y la pregunta es, ¿has cumplido tu función? Y porque tu función es decir lo que tienes que decir.
And then the display is going to do what the display is going to do. And sometimes it's going to look angry.
Y luego esto se va a presentar como se tenga que presentar. Quizá haya alguna molestia.
But you're just happiness because you fulfilled your function, and that's your only responsibility, is fulfilling your function, which is perfect happiness.
Y tú vas a estar feliz porque tu función es ser la felicidad.
So, you know, you just follow him 100%. Do I say this? Do I do this? And it doesn't matter what the form looks like. Let it do what it's going to do.
Y vas a hacer lo que tengas que hacer, sea lo que sea.
Because we're not here to quote unquote, there's no one who can make someone else happy or unhappy. It's not
Nadie
possible.
puede hacer feliz o infeliz a alguien. Eso no es posible.
Okay. Everyone's responsible for healing their own mind. If they have an upset, then they can look at it, you know.
Cada quien es responsable de su sanación de su mente. Si se molestan, ellos tienen que mirar esa molestia.
Because it's an equal opportunity for supreme happiness for everyone.
Es una oportunidad igual para la suprema felicidad para todos.
So everyone has an equal opportunity to see where they've denied the God within and change their mind. It's
Todos tienen
everyone
la
has.
misma oportunidad de mirar que están negando a Dios interiormente y cambiar su mentalidad.
So thank you, Jesus, for this talk on holy relationship.
Jesús, por esta charla acerca de relaciones santas.
Thank you, Mary.
Gracias,
Thank you.
Mary.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you,
Love you
everyone.
all.
Thank you, David. Love you.
Love you.
Los amo a
Thank
todos.
you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Good night.
Love you.
Love you.
Go for God.
Ho, ho, ho.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Let go of control. Oh, oh, oh.
Deja el control. Oh, oh, oh.